So now when we understand that we're not dealing with politics, we're dealing with religion. Nazism was not a political idea. It was a religious belief. They were magicians practicing ancient Hebrew mysticism based on theosophy. Adolf Hitler ran around with Madame Blavatsky's secret doctrine. He kept it by his bed. He was very into this. We think of it as politics, but it's not. They're encoding and dividing ritual around us. Now we're dealing with a group of people that have a belief system that deals with ancient Egyptian or Hebrew magic. It boils up into our world today. We think of it as politics, but it's not. They're encoding and dividing ritual around us. And so when we go ahead and we agree and they show us things, and then we don't make a mental note or some sort of spiritual aspiration to fight against this, then we are giving our free will agreement. And they do this with Hollywood, they do this with books, Harry Potter, you know, it goes on and on.
Well, they do it even with law. I mean, like you said, you were studying the Freeman philosophy, Freeman on the land, and if you open up the laws, they can't do anything without your consent. That's what we tell people on the broadcast: do not consent.
Yes, and now this is on a spiritual level. Do not consent. But it's absolutely correct that when you look into ancient Egyptian magic, their two main forms of magic are contract and pantacles, or sigils or talismans. So those are the very nature of our reality. I mean, the contracts create this immortal entity we call corporations. And this is immortal entity crafted out of this magical signing of a contract has now taken over and dominated our world. And that's where they're moving, is to these immortal corporations that control reality, or fascism. The key point is to notice the magical ritual as well. And so when you actually take these bills, the 5 to the 100, you can see the entire scenario of the Twin Towers burning. You know, the 5 has the 2 towers, the 10 has the first strike, the 20 has the second and the first strike, and if you flip it over, it's got the Pentagon getting hit. Then the 50 has the towers missing, the 100 just a wisp of smoke. Now
Wow.
these were designed...
I've never seen that. I've seen the $20 bill. I haven't seen the rest.
Yes,
I'm gonna have
do
to
it
take a
all
look
with
at
all
it.
of them. But they're only on bills post-1996. And 96 was a critical year for these magicians, and I wasn't quite aware of it at the time, but I learned more and more about it. And this plays into the building of Babylon with Saddam Hussein. What I try to show you is that this is more ritual than politics. Let's start looking at the symbolism. We have Alpha Draconis and Sirius. Now in Egypt, Sirius was worshipped as well. In Freemasonry, it's worshipped as the blazing star. Its symbol in Egypt was an obelisk, a dome, and a pentagram. So now you go to any capital in America and you're going to find an obelisk and a dome and often a pentagram. In Texas, they actually have the goddess, who looks very much like Enlil, the ancient god of Samaria. It's standing on top holding the pentagram in one hand with the obelisk and the dome. And then the goddess, Columbia, behind her with her angel wings, showing herself as Lucifer, being drawn forth on a boat by men, fishmen riding fish horses, and a pentagram on one side and a shell on the other. And this was placed there in 1933 as a war memorial. It says Columbia on it. You can see it in my film, Columbia. And the queen sitting under the dragon, or the Alpha Draconis, which is running the military force, keeping things in scarcity. She is the high priestess of Freemasonry. And all of this starts to come down to an extraterrestrial control of planet Earth. Like I say, if you're going to believe in ancient astronauts, you got to believe that they didn't leave. The satanic beliefs are curious, and they believe in this might is right type of philosophy, and that's absolutely not what I believe. And I believe there's much more strength in our love than there is in their might. They believe in this might is right type of philosophy, and that's absolutely not what I believe. And I believe there's much more strength in our love than there is in their might. And I believe there's much more strength in our love than there is in their might.
Let me play devil's advocate for a second, and no pun intended. Well, maybe a little bit of a pun, but Doesn't there have to be a yin to the yang? Doesn't there have to be a balance? Doesn't there have to be a negative force in the universe in order for there to exist a positive force?
I've often thanked George Bush for making me the good person that I am. You know, and that is kind of a Luciferian idealism, that they or more an Illuminati, like the Bavarian Illuminati belief system of bringing about this chaos through, or this order through chaos. So that does play heavily into their belief systems. I think so, that they actually believe they're bringing about something good by bringing the ultimate evil out of people. Doesn't really matter. Honestly, doesn't matter at all how we die, what takes us out. None of that matters. That's why all this fear and fright of all the how they're going to kill us is just pointless, because we're all going to die. There's no way out of that. So what we need to do is focus on the positive. What the Mayans told me is that if we could show enough gratitude around the world, if we could perform simple ceremonies of ritual gratitude, that we could lessen the effects of the coming catastrophe. So what we need to do is focus on the positive. So what we need to do is focus on the positive.
I'd like to be more optimistic about the future. I think that it's very possible for us to have an expansion of consciousness globally. I think it's possible. It may not be likely, but it's still possible.
So what I say is to take a little pilgrimage, to release yourself to the true God force. Don't allow yourself to decide where you're going, and just allow the universe to unfold before you. And notice how many synchronicities and miraculous events as the goosebumps well up on your body and excitement fills your heart. These are the moments that you're seeking, and these are the moments that will change the world. Release yourself to the true God force. Don't allow yourself to decide where you're going, and just allow the universe to unfold before you. And notice how many synchronicities and miraculous events as the goosebumps well up on your body and excitement fills your heart. These are the moments that you're seeking, and these are the moments that will change the world.